Hey everybody, what's going on? Rob Cesternino back, and I've got another Survivor post-game interview for Survivor 46. And today I'll be chatting with Liz Wilcox, who ultimately comes in fourth place in Survivor 46. She told the other players that she was a millionaire. She then, after the season, said that actually she is not a millionaire. She was trying a lot of interesting things during this season of Survivor. And so hopefully we'll find out a little bit more about what Liz had going on here in Survivor 46. We are continuing to bring you more Survivor 46 interviews. Earlier, I spoke with Charlie Davis on an interview talking about his game. You could see that and more on our Survivor podcast feed and in the Rob Is Podcast main feed, robiswebsite.com/subscribe, or on our YouTube channel at robiswebsite.com/YouTube. So without further ado, let's bring in my conversation with Liz. Hey, Liz, what's going on?
Just hanging out with my fellow awesome t-shirt owner.
Yes. I have a very Liz shirt on. Whatever is the opposite of pissed, that's what I am to talk to you today, Liz.
Ditto.
Yes.
Ecstatic.
Yeah. Okay. Well, really appreciate you making some time to talk about your Survivor game. How are you doing?
I am doing so well. I just bought a house. So you guys, as you listen, if I start talking loud, it starts echoing. That's because I own almost nothing. And so it's a pretty empty space right now.
Yes.
But overall,
You
doing
sound
great.
great. Ready to do, a couple hundred more podcasts. Maybe a rug is going to cut down on some echo, but I don't really even hear any.
Okay, great.
All right. Liz, congratulations on the new home as well.
Thank you. It feels so good. I promised my daughter that if I won Survivor, I would buy a house. And the more I thought about it, I was like, why should I punish her? Because I suck at fire making. So I bought a house anyway.
Yeah. What a ride for you to go from when you were living in the RV.
Yeah, that's why I don't own anything. So I travel. My very first business that you guys listened to and heard about in the first episode of season 46. My first business was a travel blog, and I would travel around with my daughter and my then husband. We did that for about 4 years. And then when I separated from my husband, I just moved into a fully furnished home. I live in Florida. That's a thing. Like a lot of houses come sold, rented, fully furnished. So I've just been moving around in fully furnished homes forever. And so I own almost nothing. I had to buy a pillow. I literally didn't even own a pillow.
Wow, the fully furnished homes come with the used pillows.
Yeah, and used sheets.
Okay. All right. We could totally explore that at a later date. I would love to. But we have so much from your Survivor experience to talk about. And Liz, I guess looking back now at this experience, now that you've had a couple of weeks to process it, are you feeling any differently from when we spoke the day after the finale aired?
I feel the same. I feel excited, glad that it's over, but in the best way. That was a season, that was a phase, and now I'm ready. Honestly, I feel a little relief also. I feel like I have my brain back. I am a business owner, and for the last year, it's been, Survivor, Survivor, Survivor. I'm
Yeah.
also a single mom, so it's been Survivor, Survivor, Survivor. So I'm feeling a lot of relief. I'm feeling a lot of like extra brain space to do something else, something new. It's exciting.
How has the experience of being on the show affected your business?
So I get this question a lot. And I remember when I was first getting cast, my sister, who's my full time assistant, I call her my life manager. She runs everything. She was like, "Oh my gosh, this is going to be so good for the business." I was like, "Yeah." And then when I got home last July, I was like, "Oh my gosh, my business is going to be ruined." I acted like a crazy person. I was so pissed.
Yeah.
Like, this is going to destroy me. And I knew because I didn't win, they could make me look any type of way, right? And they certainly did. And
Yeah.
so I was worried that it would actually hurt my business, but it hasn't. It's pretty much maintained its growth the way it always has. It's been a little slower because like I mentioned, I haven't had the brain space,
Yeah.
but business is still rock
Yeah.
solid, to be
Okay.
honest.
Yeah, I'm surprised that it didn't like have a big uptick, because I would think that with your exposure to all these millions of people that watch the show, I feel like that people that are looking for that kind of help, I feel like that they would probably want to reach out.
Yeah, I have met about 3 or 4 people that said, "Oh, I found you through Survivor." And
Mhm.
I'm like, "Oh, wow, you picked up on that?" The email marketing thing. But it hasn't been overwhelming. I think,
Yes.
and that goes to show, and Rob, as a podcast host, like, you don't need millions of eyeballs, you need the right people to see
Yes,
you.
that's right.
So most of people are just watching Wednesday nights at 8 o'clock. They're not worried about their email marketing.
Yeah. Okay. But if anybody is looking for somebody, then how do people reach you?
Yeah, of course. You can go directly to lizwilcox.com. There's
Mhm.
a hot pink button in the top right hand corner. You can't miss it. You can get signed up that way.
Okay. What about outside of Survivor? Have you and your daughter resumed going to Applebee's on Wednesday night, or did Survivor cure you of Survivor sleepover?
Maybe a little bit of both. For season 45, we got to watch that together. I had already filmed. That season was very exciting. We went to Applebee's every night. I think we went with Randon one night. Kenzie
You
came
went
into
every
town.
Survivor night, not every night of the
Every
week.
Survivor night, yeah.
Yes.
Excuse me. I'm only a rumored billionaire. I'm not actually going out to eat
Hmm.
every night. And we would bring people into town from Survivor and we go out with them. But season 46, I think, was a little more stressful. And also people wanted to watch with us. People wanted to have watch parties. So we actually only got to Applebee's once or twice for our season.
Okay. All right. Well, Liz, would love to talk a little bit more about your game in Survivor 46. And I would love if you could talk a little bit about the beginnings of the game and where you fit in on Nami.
Okay, this is so fun. So when I started the game, and you can watch my preseason press, I thought I was going to come in like Jam Jam. I thought it was going to be
Yeah.
Kenzie, the tribe bestie. Everybody likes me. I'm funny. I'm not too intimidating. I'm only 5 feet tall. I'm actually was the smallest person out there. Kenzie's this much bigger than me. And I found within the first evening, everyone's talking. We're laying in the shelter because Hunter is Survivor MacGyver. We already have a shelter. And everyone's talking, and I just want to go to bed. I am suddenly that cranky Mima that Kenzie called out, 3 weeks later. And I'm like, why are these people talking? Oh my gosh, I'm in trouble. I'm going to get voted out if we lose because I just want to go to bed. And I do not care about any of these people. All I care about is getting some sleep. But I also was very aware that, I'm literally in a game for $1 million. And so I'm forcing myself to stay awake. My throat kind of hurts because I'm nervous and my allergies have sort of damaged my vocal cords. And eventually I kind of fall asleep and I wake up in the morning in a panic as I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what was happening when I fell asleep? And Randon and I go for a walk to find coconuts. That's what we've been assigned. And he confirms all my deepest fears. Liz, you're on the bottom. You better wake up. I said, dude, I'm awake. I know I'm on the bottom. Last night, everyone was chit chatting and nobody was even asking me questions. And he said, yep. And if you go, I'm the next to go. So you better kick it into high gear. And so I veer off. I go back to the shelter and I notice Venus and Soda, they aren't around Tevin and Hunter. Those 4 were assigned the shelter, but suddenly it's just Tevin and Hunter. And what you didn't see was, we saw the Andy Griffith Alliance
Yeah.
on day 1. On day 2, Liz, I was brought into that alliance, but we called it the Shelter Alliance. And they said, oh, Tevin said, Hunter and I, we're locked in. We're solid. We really like each other. And I said, well, I really like y'all. I'm a hard worker because they kept talking about these girls. They're just looking for idols. It's day 2. We won. And so I fed into that. And I said, you know what? I'm not even going to look for idols. Like, I don't need an idol. I need allies. And if you guys work with me, we're good. I'll help you fix the shelter, whatever, whatever. And we shook, and I actually made them hug me. I was like, I would feel better if you just hugged me about this. And and they didn't even have shirts on. It was sweaty. It was gross. It was
Hmm.
awkward. I regretted it. But I said, this is the Shelter Alliance. And from then on, I felt really locked in with them. I knew that Soda, felt the same way about those two. But I knew in the end, Soda and Tevin were so alike that I was going to win out against Soda.
Did you know that Randon had found the Beware advantage?
I had no idea. Again, in my preseason press, I talked a lot about I don't have a bucket list. I'm going to play a game of attract, not chase. I don't need to know all the information. And that helped me not be paranoid on the island. I think I was only paranoid at the Maria vote because I was like, what if it's me? I've been laying on the boat all day.
Hmm.
And so when I saw people going off, I wasn't unlike Venus, who was going up to people, asking them very directly what they were doing, I just was like, if I'm going to get people to trust me, I'm just going to relax. So I didn't know that information, but I never felt stressed about not knowing information because I knew it, not asking actually lowered my threat level.
From your perspective, and this is a question with a lot of what ifs, if Randon stayed in the game and Nami went to the tribal council, what do you think would have happened?
Soda. I love
Wow.
her, but I mean that's exactly what happened the second we got to go to tribal. I believe it would have been Soda because Randon, I felt really solid with Randon. That day two, you're on the bottom, Liz. Even though I could tell he was getting closer to Venus, I could tell I was in a good position. I was sort of in the middle. Tevin and Hunter didn't want to get rid of me. Randon didn't want to get rid of me. And nobody's getting rid of the men right now. And so Venus was already causing a little contention. Just, she has a very, I don't know, like nervous, frazzled energy. And so that people were picking up on that. And people were picking up on Soda and Venus going back and forth, being friends and not being friends. So I knew I was safe. And I don't think it would have been Venus because Randon was close with her. I think it would have been Soda.
Liz, we didn't see a ton of interaction in the show between you and Venus. So, did you both have a working relationship together, or did you sort of just not spend that much time working together?
I think that Venus and I had a lot of respect for each other. Um, I don't know if I ever felt like I was working with her because, again, I felt like she had this frazzled energy and I wasn't sure where her head was really ever at. So
Yeah.
I never considered us like close, in an alliance or working together. But I felt like we had respect for each other. And if it came down to it, like, yes, we could work together. Venus and I, she shared a story one night about why she was on the show. She's Iranian, and in her country, in her mother country, the women don't have a voice, and she feels like she's here, and she has a voice, and so she has to use it. As someone who feels very similarly, who was mute until the age of 7 and had to learn to use her voice, even talking about it, my neck's getting a little red.
Hmm.
I that endeared me to her. So I immediately after that, I loved Venus and I love Venus to this day. I respected her. I knew she was, coming off a certain way to people, but I felt like I could always talk to her. I could always attempt to calm her down. Even when at the Tevin vote episode where she's going back and forth, I said, Venus, I love you, but give me 3 minutes. And so that was kind of how our relationship was. And she, has even told me like, oh, you're my rock out here. Because she really struggled out there with, I don't know, knowing where she stood,
Hmm.
where I wasn't always sure where I stood, but I'm very grounded in myself. And so I was able to, I think that was the nature of our relationship, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Liz, can you talk a little bit about the journey that you went on? And you and Ben and Banu went out there together. And I would love to just hear your perspective on your time with them on the journey.
Yeah. So I want to talk about how Tevin, Hunter, and I controlled the journeys, but I'll answer your question first. So on that journey, I picked Ben because I felt with how he was talking, I said, oh, people think he's just a clown. Because Ben and I actually have similar stories where, growing up, maybe we had a lot of people around us, but we didn't have a lot of close friends. People just kept us around for the jokes, so to speak. And I could kind of see that energy from him with the mat chats. And so I'm going to pick Ben. And then I picked Banu because he looked like he was on the bottom and he would, squeal like a pig. And so I picked Ben and Banu and I'm so
Good call.
excited. Right. I can read some people. And so I'm so excited. I'm like, oh, this is my time. I'm going to create these allies, etc. And we get off the boat, and everything I had planned to say, Ben said, and he left almost no room for me to say anything but, yeah, man, same. He just went on this sort of soliloquy. And then Banu starts crying and all of this. And all I could think, and I know this is so ridiculous, and I've admitted on the show, I have a big ego. I didn't come on the show not to get screen time. And all I could think was, I am not even going to be in this scene. Ben is talking about meditating and shredding and Banu is screaming, crying. He's cursing God. He's on his knees. And wow, I am going to look like nothing. I'm just standing here like, Liz, say something, say something. And so I finally said, oh, do you want to pray together? And that's why we got on our knees. But then Ben said, oh, let's meditate. And I'm like, he's upstaging me again. And I felt like that. I loved seeing that in the show about me. I always felt like I was being upstaged because, again, I thought I was going to come in one way. And it turned out, wow, I'm one of the softer, gentler personalities in this crowd. I'm having a bit of an identity crisis here.
Yeah. That's so interesting to get that perspective on, how you were feeling about all that, because I do feel like, a lot of your very funny moments in the show, they're subtle. That other than, you had the one very big moment, but most of your other moments are like subtle and like quiet. And it's like sort of like if you don't pay attention, you might miss it.
Yeah, one thing that was incredibly subtle and something I wanted to bring up at Final Tribal, and we can talk about it in the journey as well, was telling people on purpose, like, oh, I don't really have a strategy. I'm playing a game of attract, not chase. I don't care about looking for idols. And one thing I would constantly bring up was luck. And I would say, I'm just a lucky person. That's how I'm going to win Survivor. I even said that in my first confessional. I said it in the casting process. And I truly believe I am a lucky person. But I knew that's one of those things that just makes people look like, is this chick for real? If you watch a secret scene of Q analyzing everyone, he says, I don't really know about Liz. That's because I was saying things like that. Oh, I don't need an idol.
Mhm.
It's so against the grain of what a Survivor player should be doing. But I'm a firm believer in not shitting on yourself. And so I would talk about luck all the time. And every time we won at Nami, I'd say nothing but luck. If you rewatch our season, you'll hear Tevin, Hunter, Kenzie, Ben all saying the word luck. And that's because I've kept telling people, oh, it's luck. When I got to go on the journey, I said, it's just luck. It's meant to be, guys. When I got on the journey and it was those 3 cards or whatever we had to pull, and Banu said, I really need this advantage. I said, I don't need the advantage. In fact, I don't even want it. I want to get back on the boat. You can have my card. And he said, really? And of course, production said, no, you got to play the game, guys. And I said, okay. And Banu starts crying again. And I said, don't worry, Banu. I'm the luckiest person I've ever met. I'm going to give you my luck today. And he was like, what? How do you know? I said, trust me, I'm going to get the card that says go back. And I did. And if you rewatch that scene, you see Banu's face looking like, I can't believe it. He's looking directly at the camera is right behind
Yeah.
me, looking directly at me. And, they cut it, but he says, I don't know how you did that. And I said, that's how I do everything. Good luck, guys. And you'll see me waving and I'm saying good luck. I was constantly talking about luck. I was constantly guessing things. And some things came true. Like I guessed we were going to have Chinese takeout. And
Mhm.
if you rewatch that scene, they fade it. But Kenzie says, you called it, Liz. And so a lot of things, people started looking at me like, who is this chick? But I think it endeared them. Like, I want her around because what she says happens.
When Banu says his report on everything going on at Yanu and Q and Tiffany are together and Kenzie, watch out for her. She's the mastermind. Did that ultimately matter in any way, shape, or form, that information that Banu got out to the other tribes?
For me, yes. I despised Kenzie until the moment I didn't. I was constantly telling people, she's the fakest person out here. All she does is talk about her fiance and getting married. And like, who does she think she's fooling? She is here to win $1 million. And all of you like keep forgetting that because we're sitting on the boat, we're watching the sunset, someone's complaining about food, and she's, oh, but look at the sunset, guys. This is once in a lifetime. And I'm pretty sure I might have called her fake to her face. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I said a lot of crazy stuff out there. But it wasn't until the day that I needed her help, the
Yeah.
day that I had, a moment where I was feeling down about myself and doubting myself. Kenzie was the only person that stuck around and listened to me. And I swear, Mermaid Dragon, Banu called it. I totally forgot that she was playing the game.
Yeah, and we saw that with Ben too. She's like so good in that spot. But I guess in my head I thought that maybe it was the Applebee's. But what was the moment?
I was having a really down day. We were painting the tribe flag, and I must have just been really hungry and depleted because I'm
Mhm.
normally a really confident person. And I see people painting, and I don't like to paint. And actually, I mean, my loose ligaments, it really is hard to hold a paintbrush and a pen. I have a very ergonomic setup here. And I was like, oh, I don't want to. Mine looks so dumb compared to everyone. And y'all can Google the flag. It really does. And I was just feeling down and I was like, oh, you're not good at this. Maybe your strategy is stupid, Liz. Like people are starting to think you're nobody because you're not doing anything. Like you've got to do something. And then I just was thinking about back home and, just, getting caught up in my head. Rob, you've been
Yeah.
out there. I'm sure you've had moments where it's like, wait, am I actually doing anything? And Kenzie was the only one to say, like, what's going on, Liz? You seem off today. And I was like, and I just
Yeah.
melted. I was like, I feel so dumb. I can't even paint a stick. Look how dumb my thing looks. Like it was so superficial, but in the moment it mattered a lot.
Liz, you said you were going to tell us how you and Hunter and Tevin controlled the journeys.
Yeah, so was again another reason why I thought I was going to win. So Hunter, we did the shot in the dark and like rolled the die, and Hunter was the first to go. And because Tevin and I were in an alliance with him, I said, "Well, how can we get Tevin to go next?" And I said, "Okay, or I'm sorry, how can we get?" So Tevin was the first to go. I'm sorry, y'all. This was a year ago. I'm doing my best.
You're doing great.
Oh, Tevin was the first to go. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I want to be the next one to go. Or Hunter, how can we get it? And I said, okay, we're going to roll the die again, but I'm going to drop mine. And I practiced dropping it to get the piece. And I
Wow.
said, oh, this is going to be, if it's this, side, that's what we're going to go with. And then I practiced dropping it until I like really got it. And then, everyone's so focused on them dropping it. I really just went bloop. I was like, oh my gosh, it's so lucky, guys. Remember,
Wow.
I've been seeding the luck that whole time. So I got to go. Then in the last journey, we kind of knew it was probably going to be that day, right? Hashtag new era. And we Hunter was like, well, how can I go? How can I go? Like, we've got to control this information. And I said, don't worry. Let's not talk about it today. Let's stay busy gathering firewood. We're not going to talk about it before it's locked down, before we have to go to the challenge. And when we get to the challenge, I'm going to turn around and I'm going to tell them Hunter deserves to go because Hunter's done everything. He's carried us. They were like, oh, Soda will never go for that. Venus will never go for that, because they're very strong women who want what they want and they get what they want. And I said, we're going to do it at the mat because they're not going to argue in front of the other tribes. And I said, and we're going to do it really quick because Jeff doesn't give you a lot of time to make the decision, right? I couldn't believe he gave Maria so much time with the pizza stuff.
Yeah.
I guess there were only a few of us left. But, especially in the beginning, you don't get a lot of time to make decisions. And so, they said, Nami, who's it going to be? And I turned around. I said exactly what I was going to say. And before they could start to argue, we just said Hunter, like in unison, the three of us. And so that's how we were able to control the journeys and the information.
Okay. Could you have put the logos in order, Liz?
Nah.
Okay.
I've never even seen all the seasons. That was another thing I would constantly say on the island to lower my threat level. I'd be like, I've never even seen all the seasons. Like, my favorite player is Philip, and he is one of my faves. I love him. And I would say, I just watched Survivor for the hot guys. Hunter, take your shirt off. I made him a little uncomfortable. I'm so glad he's friends with me now.
Let's talk about what happens. Okay, you get all the tribes together in the emergatory, and you're part of the group that's going to be vulnerable. Did you have like a real vested interest in what it was going to be?
No, I just knew it wasn't going to be me because Tevin and Hunter were on the other side. I knew if they were throwing out names, which is exactly what happened, I knew they were never going to throw my name out. I made them feel so comfortable in the trust factor, maybe not in the take your shirt off kind of thing.
Right.
But they just knew like Liz is solid. So I didn't really care who, except I really liked Charlie. Something they didn't show was when Venus threw out Charlie's name, I went directly up to Charlie. This is how he knew we had so many cracks. I said, Venus just threw out your name, but I want you to know nobody takes Venus seriously. It's fine if you hear your name. Like, I would never vote for you. I really wanted to work with Charlie. He just had this calm energy, and it's something I admire to him today. I'm like, wow, dude, you always stayed calm. Like, I thought I could do that, but apparently I can't. And so when it came to the vote, I kind of wanted Soda, but I thought, well, I'm just going to go with whatever. And I did want to work with Q. Actually, Q was the first person I talked to at Survivor Limbo. And so I was just going to vote with whoever Q or Tevin told me at that point.
Yeah. How did that conversation with Q go?
Yeah. So I went right up. I kept telling Tevin and Hunter, Q's our boy. Q's our boy. Q's our boy. Like, I know.
Like, yeah, we're in a 6-person alliance with him.
I mean, I didn't know that, right? Yeah. But I could tell because when Hunter went on the journey, I was like, you should pick Q. You should pick Q. I feel like I know Q. There was just something about him, the things he would say on the mat. I'm like, that's exactly what I would say. Or, just his mannerisms when he lost. I was like, that's how I would want to lose. And, so I went right up to him. I shook his hand. I looked him, as much as I can look him in the eye. And I said, Q, I've been waiting, 12 days or whatever day it was. I've been waiting 12 days to talk to you. I can't wait to know you. So I immediately disarmed him of like, oh, she's in my pocket, which I believe he thought until he got voted out.
Okay. So right after you all end up voting out Mariah, did you want to talk about that? It was a surprise to you, right? That people said you and Mariah looked alike.
Oh, yeah. I had no idea.
Not that Mariah was going to get voted out. Yes.
I really didn't know that Mo and I looked alike. To me, Mo has red hair. I have brown hair. Mo has and this is with love, Mo has a much larger mouth than me. I don't know. I just didn't
Okay.
see it. I just didn't see it until, people said, oh, wow, you guys really look alike. And to be honest, at the Mergatory at Survivor Limbo, I did not speak one word to Mo. I was talking to people like Q and Tim. I was trying to stay close to Tevin and Hunter to see what they were up to. I was talking to Ben. I had not spoken to Mo until maybe 5 minutes before we went to tribal council. And so I hadn't gotten an up close and personal look, but I did hear, oh, wow, I think it was Kenzie, maybe it was Ben. Wow, you and Mo, you guys really look alike. And then it was a very intentional, oh, well, if it's her name, I'm not going to try to talk to her or save her because they're saying, oh, she looks like Aubrey. She's, I'm like, Aubrey didn't even win. Like, she played more than once and she's never even won. Like, how, like,
I mean, nothing
okay.
wrong with that, Liz.
And I didn't win either.
Yeah.
And I looked incredibly delusional.
Mhm.
But I just, in my mind, I was like, okay, but so what? But I knew if people were connecting her and Aubrey and then they're connecting me and her over here, she's got to go.
Yeah. Okay. So when you get to the split tribal council twist, okay, you're there with a lot of people from Nami, and a lot of people from Nami have a lot of big ideas. I feel like we did not really get to see too much from your perspective of how you were looking at that vote where Soda ultimately goes home.
Yeah. So for me, I wanted Soda, right? But I knew from the
To
previous
leave.
vote, I wanted Soda to leave. I wanted to vote out Soda. But I knew from the previous vote, because we voted out Mariah instead of getting Soda, I wasn't sure where Tevin stood. I had been saying things directly to every person on Nami. Soda is the winner of season 46.
Mhm.
You're just not seeing it. Look at her. Look at her. That's why I knew it, y'all. I knew it wasn't my vote. I knew that wasn't my move, but I had been seeding. I was a very subtle sort of game. And so when Tevin came up to me, I mean, because I was in a food coma, y'all, I had not eaten. I was in a food coma. That is not editing. I really was just laying there. But again, I'm playing a game of attract, not chase. So I'm going to let all these, people run around, be paranoid. I'm going to keep my cool. That way, when they're done, they're going to come up to me. They're going to tell me exactly what they think the truth is. When each person does that, I can actually decipher what the truth is. And so when Tevin came up to me, I was like, is it Soda or Venus? And he said, Soda. And I was like, great. And I go for a walk. I'm giving my confessional. And then when I came back right before, Tevin tells me I'm not voting for Soda. And that put me in a panic. And that's one of the reasons when Soda did leave, I knew Tevin had to go because it was so genius of him to wait for last minute. It was so genius of him to let Venus take the blame. So Soda goes to Ponderosa mad at Venus
Mhm.
and rooting for Tevin and being an advocate for Tevin on the jury. And that's, I always wanted to get rid of Tevin pretty
Yeah.
quickly, but that really solidified it. But it was always Soda in my mind because I really did see her as a threat. She was
Yeah.
so social. Everybody liked her. I really did think she was going to win the game.
I really do get that from players that they thought Soda was this gigantic threat in the game to ultimately be the winner. But in terms of like what Tevin's thinking there in that spot, and maybe this is a better question for Tevin, is it short-sighted to, okay, I'm going to send Soda out feeling good about me? Like, is this not kind of like what happened with Charlie and Maria, where, okay, I want like Maria to feel like, okay, I'm still with her. And then ultimately at the end, when the people vote at the jury, they're feeling like, actually, I'm not feeling that great about you on day 26.
Yeah, that's a great question. But for me and my perspective, Soda and Tevin had so many good times on Nami. We kept winning. We had never, had to test anything. And so because they had, number one, they have a culture in common, right? Versus
Mm-hmm.
Charlie and Maria who don't. So they understand each other on that level. And number two, they both are very musical and they have that in common that further bonds them. So I think it's completely different than Charlie and Maria.
Okay. Speaking of Tevin, okay, so coming out of that vote, we have this situation that you're a big part of where, okay, Tevin is like listening to Venus take the credit, which I thought was part of the plan, right? Didn't they
It wasn't part of my plan.
Yeah. But didn't why was Tevin so upset about this? If the whole reason that Tevin voted with Soda was to let Venus take the blame.
Yeah, I don't think Tevin was that upset. I think he was coming to me because he felt like we were so close, and we were, but we're also in a game for $1 million. And so he was just, having a good laugh about it. And if you want, again, it's subtle. I say, oh, that's a new laugh, Tevin. Like, I'd never heard him laugh that deep and heartily. Yeah. And
he was falling over.
Yeah. Oh, he
couldn't breathe.
It's so funny now, but I'm thinking like, oh, this is an evil mastermind, and I can't let him go any further. I was wrong. Tevin is the one to beat. And I mean, I always knew that. And that was something when Hunter found out that we were all voting Tevin. He came up to me and he said, Liz, I know you and me and Tevin can't get to the end with Tevin, but I've been listening to a lot of Tyson's podcasts, and Tyson says, don't cut your ally too early. And I said, with all due respect, Tyson don't know how to play this game. Tyson played a 39-day game. This is a 26-day game, and there are only 10 days left in the game. When is the right time?
Yeah. I thought you were going to say that there's a different podcast that you've been listening to.
I don't listen to podcasts. I only guest on them.
Okay. What a flex. So, all right. You get a lot of people on board with this plan to vote out Tevin. And it's going to happen, Liz.
Yay.
Yeah.
I was so excited.
But there's some last second maneuvering that's going on when Tiffany gets word to Q, who then tells Hunter, and now the whole thing is coming apart.
Yeah.
Seemingly.
Y'all want the drama on that day? There was drama. So I was like, this is pretty simple, guys. And one thing I did to make sure, like, I knew these people were going to vote with me, and I knew they weren't going to vote me out next, was I promised Tiff, Maria, Charlie, and Ben, if you let me drive the bus on this vote, because we're all obsessed with driving the bus, right? I think that was pretty clear. If you let me drive the vote, I'm going to get in the back of the bus and I will vote for whoever you want next. So in my head, that ensures I don't get voted out next, because I have at least 4 people, even if only half of them believe me, that's people that are championing for me to stay. That's people who say, get her next time. Right. And so I was feeling really good. And I asked Tiff, because I didn't really know Tiff that well yet. And I said, do you think we should tell Q? You know him best. And she said, no, don't tell that fool nothing. Turns out she was making a fool of me, because she went, I didn't even know that until I watched the episode. I was like, oh my gosh, Tiff, I knew it. So anyway, she went up to tell Q. Q tells Hunter. Hunter tells me. And I did go up to Q, and I was upset. I know he's claimed in interviews that I cried. I don't think I cried, but I watched the playback. But I just said, this is what I'm trying to do. I don't want to get stomped on. This is what I'm doing no matter what. I'm not going back, even if no one else votes for Tevin. If Tevin goes home tonight, if Tevin comes back to camp tonight, he's going to know it was me, and I'm gone next. So I might as well just, stand on business, I think is what the cool kids now say. But then we go up to Hunter, and Hunter's trying to convince me, and we're on that circle, and he says, switch it back to Tiff. And I'm like, okay, Hunter, whatever you want. Q could not read me, which he's confessed in his confessionals. He really thought I was going to go back on my word. He read me completely wrong. And as we all see, he tries to, I don't know, become a martyr.
Yeah.
And, y'all can play the game as if we're not playing. He's so silly. I'm going to leave because, and what they didn't show was he said, there's someone in this game that's much smaller, a smaller woman, and I have sisters, and I don't like to see large men bullying, small women. And I can't say anything because that's going to blow my cover. And so I'm just sitting there. And, finally I get a chance to talk to Q, and I'm like, you read me wrong. I'll get no respect if I don't do this. Like, don't quit, bro.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then the whole scramble ensues. The vote stays on Tevin, and ultimately Tevin goes home. But you feel like I just engineered this whole thing, and then Q distracted everybody from this great move that I worked out.
Yeah. And for me, that I went back to camp that night not feeling that way. I went up to Q. I thanked him, for his effort. A for effort, bro. And, I was like, hey, thanks, but you read me wrong. Just, like, I am playing the game. And I do want to work with you. And, I appreciate what you did. And I'm sorry that you didn't get to go home if you really actually wanted to go home. And he's like, no, we're cool. We're cool. But then that morning, all of the talk around the vote was more of it felt like people were pitying me. They were, oh, Liz, I'm so sorry Q did that. That was your big move. And yes, I mean, in retrospect, it's like, oh, that's good because my threat level, like
Yeah.
everybody forgot. But it was the pity. It was the vibe that it was like, oh, Liz, poor thing. That's what lead to that confessional of, I'm tired of people not taking me seriously. I'm a leader. Because it was like, I don't want your pity. It was like the excessive, it would have been like, oh yeah, Liz, that totally sucks. But it was never like, that totally sucks. Good move. It was, oh, Liz, you tried to do something. It was just so excessive. I was like, no matter what I do, these people, like, how can they not take me seriously? And then it just turned, I'm assuming because of hunger and the container you're in, I was like, you duped me.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well,
Cranky Mima came out.
we then follow the action a little bit away from you in the next round, where there's talk about voting out Tiffany, and then Tiffany has her idol, and then so it turns back after Charlie wins the immunity to that Hunter is going to get voted out. But you are still standing on your business, right? And you want to go for Q, but Hunter is talking about this other plan that he has. He wants to vote out Ben. Could you just talk about, I know that you and Hunter were close early on. I mean, were you still kind of working with Hunter at this point?
Yeah. So after I voted and drove the vote for Tevin, Hunter was as pissed as Hunter can ever be. He's such a gentleman. Yes, that was his internal dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
And we were sitting on the boat, and he looked me in my eye and he said, Liz, I thought I could trust you. I thought we were working together. And I said, I know, but we couldn't get to the end with Tevin. He's too good. And I have suspicions that you're working with other people that you've never told me about. Because he had told me, but not told me about the Secret Six. He said, Liz, there's this secret thing. I can't, this is during the Tevin vote. I can't tell you what it is, but just know we're going to vote somebody out and you're going to come in. And I'm like, okay, you don't tell me. No, like, I'm not in the top 6. I'm the winner of Survivor. So like, I don't actually need your plan, sir. And I already have my plans in motion. Like, you're ignorant. And
Wow.
so fast forward, like I said, I was a lot crankier than I thought I would be out
Mm-hmm.
there. And so we fast forward, he's like, Liz, I thought we could trust each other. I said, well, you were working with other people and you didn't tell me about it. Even if you were going to sneak me in, that's all you told me. And so I said, Hunter, I don't consider you a threat. Yes, people are talking about you today, but I will never write your name down. If that's what I need to promise you in order to build that trust again, I will never write your name down again. And I knew that day something was up because I told Tiff, I told Charlie, I don't think Hunter's a threat. I'm not going to vote for him. And then no one spoke to me the rest of the day. That's why I'm not in the episode. No one was talking to me.
Mhm.
And so obviously, I know what's going on. But I had promised Hunter, and I was like, well, if everyone thinks he's a threat, I'm not one to stand and, try something else, not at this stage in the game, not after I just drove the Tevin vote. And so I'm just going to let whatever happens. He should play his idol. He tells me he has an idol, just play it. And I kept telling him, I'm voting for Q. I'm voting for Q. And I did. And that's why I voted for Q on the revote, because I didn't want Hunter to go back and be mad at me and then tell Tevin the truth about what happened. And now I have two people who were my closest allies ticked off at me,
Mhm. ... Yeah. Okay. So let's then, Hunter goes out and we have to talk about, we have our reward challenge here that Q is going to win. You hear about it. It's Applebee's. First off, again, your luck, right?
Right. I was like, oh, this is so lucky. My go-to menu item. Like, wow, I am the winner. Like, to all those little lucky things that happen, I would be like, that just solidifies that I won this game. That just, I was very much self-talking like the whole time.
Yeah. And we got to talk to Tiffany right after that because she gets voted out in this episode. But the thing that she revealed was that in the episode, she said that Kenzie and Mariah both said, I'm going to give up my spot to Liz for Applebee's. And Q said no.
That's not exactly what happened. I'm so glad you asked this. I've been dying. So I have my fit, right? I calmed down just enough for Kenzie and Mariah. Well, first it was Kenzie and then Mariah backpacked. And so Kenzie's sweet. That's why she won. And she looks at Jeff and she says, I don't really need it. And I don't even know if she gets out the full sentence. And Q interrupts and says no. And I interrupt and I say no. And that's when I started screaming again. And that's when I say, I don't even want to be around y'all.
Mm-hmm.
So in that moment, like, I did not even want to be and it wasn't, I think this is the misconception. It wasn't that I was so mad at Q. I was just pissed. I don't say I'm pissed at you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just hungry. For the first time, the whole time, I say, and there's a few confessionals about this. My very first confessional, I ain't going down like no punk about my food allergies. There's a secret scene where I'm like, well, it's the game. I guess I don't get to eat this reward. Even when they say they don't eat the burger and I'm kind of complaining. And then I say, well, but I'm playing Survivor, so I better get over it. This was the first time where I let myself believe I'm going to eat today. Every day. Even I think there's also a scene where Soda's like, oh, I'm sorry, we're eating coconut. And I was like, when you guys eat, I eat. And that's how my brain was. And so I let my guard down with myself that day. I was like, I'm going to get it. Even if I don't win, I know I've made the connections to get on this reward. Yeah. I knew Q was the only person that didn't tell me that day, Liz, you're going to eat. And so when he won, I just knew. When he won and he didn't pick me first, that's why you see me start to turn my body, because I'm trying to not make it about me, right? I know it's a game. I know I don't deserve it. I know I voted for Q last night. And I remember when Jeff asked, like, Liz, are you comfortable? I was turning very slowly around because I was trying to compose myself. Mm-hmm. I was trying to take, you see me take those deep breaths. Yeah. And then I snapped. There's no other, way to put it. Something inside of me said, you know what, Liz, you don't actually have to keep your composure because you're effing starving. Yeah. You have had 3 pieces of popcorn in over 72 hours. You see these people, they're talking about being hungry. You just saw them eat so much coconut. They said, oh, I can't eat anymore. Like, if ever there was a time in your life, Liz, to be pissed and to express it, it's your moment, girl. And I just snapped. I really did.
It's your moment. It's our moment now because we were recently talking about like what's the most iconic moment from Survivor 46, and we said it was that.
It has to be. I mean, if not, I mean, I know I've got a big ego, but like,
Then what? Then what?
if not in the new
Yeah.
era, I mean, we talked about it on the island. We would make jokes about it because,
Yeah.
and that's what they didn't show. Like a lot of people, oh, I can't believe she stuck around so long. I can't believe they didn't vote her off. But I did have connections. I was that subtle, funny, if not tired and cranky person, but I had a reason to be tired and cranky, and people understood that. And we joked about it even that day. I'm pissed. Like somebody couldn't find the flint. I'm pissed. And we were all dying laughing about it every day
That's
until the end
Mima.
of the game.
Right.
Yeah, that's just Mima Wilcox. She comes out every now and again if, if the challenge is too intense.
Yeah. Liz, so in that episode, then you get approached very late in the, right before Tribal Council, that Charlie and Maria talk, and then they come to you and they say, Liz, we need you to be the 5th vote against Tiffany. Was that a hard decision for you?
That was the easiest decision of the entire game. So I knew something was going on that day. And I knew I couldn't get to Charlie and Maria. There was just something about them where I was like, they're arm's distance. They're keeping an arm's distance from me. And I just exploded. I wouldn't trust me either. Like I'm all over the place this week. But I knew that Ben and I had that connection of looking like clowns to people. I knew that they looked at Ben and me the exact same way. So I spent the whole day with Ben, and we're sitting, and I did, who was it? Gabby and Christian. Do you want to play with me? I literally said that to Ben as a throwback. We had a good laugh. So I was like, Ben, if there's something going on, and I used the just don't leave me out, I was left out of the Hunter vote, even though I caught on, it was pretty obvious, I was left out of that. Like, don't leave me out, dude. I know I exploded. I was just hungry. Like, I want to play this game. Ben, you and I, we are goons. And if we don't they think we are goons. We are goons in their eyes. I kept using the word goons like the whole season.
Yeah.
I was like, they think we're goons. They don't take us seriously. If we don't work together, no one will work with us.
Yeah.
And we had a long talk. And I could tell, I was like, oh, I think his wall's coming down, his arm's coming down. He is the reason Maria brought me on that vote. I truly believe it has nothing to do with anyone else. He went up to Maria and Charlie. Hey, I think Liz is with us. She's really, he probably used the word desperate. She's really desperate to be in on this. Like, just let her know. She could be our 5th or whatever. Right. And so remember when I told Maria and Charlie and Ben about the Tevin vote, I said, I'll be your number, right? As Ben says, I'll be a goat for the vote. So Maria came up to me. She did the little sand thing, right? Like we've got this person. And, I'm thinking Tiff tonight. And she prefaced, she said, remember when you said, if I voted for Tevin, you would help me make my big move? I said, whoever it is, I'll vote him out right now. She was like, you don't even want to hear who it is? I said, is it Tiff? She said, yes. And she was like, that's it? I don't have to convince you? I said, I know I look crazy, but I do what I say, and let's go. And it was like a 45-second conversation. I didn't even have to think about it.
Maria wins the immunity challenge at the final 7, and she has to pick 3 people to go for pizza, even gluten-free pizza. And she says, everybody make your case, and then tells Liz and Q to play rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah. That's the moment that I knew that I didn't mess with either one of them. That's the moment I realized, like, oh, wow, they're working a lot more closely, or Maria in particular is working a lot more closely with Q than with Charlie. That was my perception of it, right? And because why would you feed Q when he just ate if he's not your number one? And when I told Q, like, pick rock, that was my last ditch effort to be like, hey, bro, throw me a salad. You don't have to eat. You can go back. You can mastermind with these other people. Like, please let me eat. And when he used that to beat me instead, that was when I realized, you know what? Q has no, like, desire or like objective to care about me at all. And that whole day I was wondering, like, why would he do that to me? Like, I'm a human, I'm hungry. And I thought, oh, he's planning on dragging me to the end, right? He does not plan on sending me to the jury, because if I did, I would spew all of this, like, I can't believe it, I'm pissed. And so it was this very confusing thing. Like, yeah, drag me to the end, bro. Like, that's great for me because I'm doing things that you haven't even thought about doing, bro. Like, you think you're chaotic, like you think you're a mastermind. Like, I can run circles around you, is what I felt in my head at the time. And so it was this very confusing, like, oh, good, I'm gonna get to the end, but also like, I'm hungry, y'all are ridiculous, dot dot dot.
Yeah. So, Liz, I want to skip ahead a little bit, if you don't mind, to when you are all at the Final Five challenge. And it was such a controversial moment in the season when you agree, or you decide really on your own to go, at least from our perspective, to go and get the plank for, to get Kenzie's answer for the puzzle. Could you talk a little bit about, like, how were you inspired to do that in that moment?
Yeah. So like I've been saying, like, I'm playing a game of attract, not chase. I'm a very creative person. I played a very creative, different, zigging when others are zagging game. And that morning, the four of us, the final four, said Maria cannot win. It wasn't like, Charlie, you have to do this. Kenzie, you're the puzzle beast. It was none of that. It was just, oh my God, I hope one of us wins. And so I was in between Kenzie and Maria, and I could see they were pretty much neck and neck. And I could see that I was really behind. Y'all, I am not a visual learner. Like, I run into walls all the time, and I knew I was not going to get that puzzle, but I knew that, one of us had to beat Maria, or Maria was going to the end. She could win Final Four. She wins the game because she's got a lot of friends on the jury. The perception was Maria is the only one playing, right? And so I did what I had to do. I didn't even think about it. I just started counting because I could read their puzzles. And so I started counting as Kenzie is continuing her puzzle. And they don't show it, but I'm whispering, 36, 14, 30, and I'm double, triple counting until she gets to the last piece so we can see what it is. And she's like, holes, holes. I was like, bye. And I made sure to grab hers because I was like, production's not tricking me. If we have different holes, I've got to grab hers. And so it was never anything other than Maria has to lose today.
Yeah. Okay. Were you surprised that people thought that was such a controversial moment?
I was blindsided. I waited almost a whole year for the world to see that. I thought this is the most genius move. Again, it was something that I was going to take to Final Tribal and be like, actually, when I want something, I get it. And here's a, example of me doing something, different than anyone's ever done in the game. And so I was surprised that people thought it was cheating. Yeah. Yes. Season or Game Changers 2, holler at me. I really thought, like, this is a game-changing move. They will change the rules about this.
Okay.
And I was so excited. I still am excited. So to hell with whoever says it's cheating. I really don't care. It was awesome.
So, Liz, speaking of Game Changers 2 and hollering at you, okay, so I know there's a lot of talk about Survivor 50, and you had a very unique experience, a difficult experience. Is a second time on Survivor something that would be interesting for you?
I would love to do it again, but I don't know if they would ever ask me back because of my allergies.
Yes. Okay. But for you, the allergies wouldn't be a problem.
No, I don't think so. And honestly, I've been working on my allergies and doing therapy, and I have less allergies than I did a year ago.
Yeah. Well, I thought that was a very interesting moment in the season when you talked about how that, you felt like that there were things that you noticed that were, from your behavior, and did that have an impact on your allergies? And you talked about how that maybe things would be different based off of some of the things you would learn from the season.
Yeah, I mean, I know I looked delusional. I know it sounds crazy, but my allergies started to surface at a very intense period of my life, and they're all my favorite foods.
Hmm.
All the things that I was eating a lot during that time, and so now I can eat a little bit more fruit. The allergies are less intense. Like I don't carry my EpiPen around as much. I
Hmm.
don't think all of them will ever go away, but the ones that just give me like a face rash and things, it's becoming less and less.
Okay. Liz, anything else you want to let people know or make sure Survivor fans understand?
To all, I guess, I think the funniest thing is, yeah, I looked really delusional, but I still do believe that I would have a shot. I have no idea what the votes would have been, but I do believe I speak for a living. I am a very smart person. I have a degree in leadership. I do believe I could have stated my case really, really well and swayed some of the votes. And if you don't believe me, rewatch the fire making scene when Charlie is encouraging and coaching Kenzie and not me.
Okay. All right. Liz, great job. I really enjoyed getting the chance to catch up with you after the season.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rob.
Okay. Liz, where can people keep up with you?
Yeah, of course, I'm an email marketer. I should pitch myself. You can go directly to lizwilcox.com, hit the hot pink button in the top right hand corner. You can't miss it. Or if you just want to see my musings, I am most active on Instagram, the Liz Wilcox.
All right. Liz, thank you so much. And hope to talk to you again soon.
Bye, friends.
All right, everybody, there you have it. Liz Wilcox. Great job by Liz coming in and talking a little bit more about her game. Liz, I think, is such a fascinating person. I really enjoy getting to hear the way that she thinks about the game because I think it's just very interesting and different than how a lot of other people see Survivor. And I think that some of the stuff that she was doing, whether or not you agree with the strategy or her reasoning behind it, much like Q, I love that here's somebody who's coming into this Survivor world and thinking about things in a very different way. So love to have the creative thinking here in the game of Survivor, and really appreciate Liz making some time to talk with us about everything that she has going on. We are looking to continue to bring you more Survivor 46 interviews here on RHAP Has a Podcast. You want to make sure that you are subscribed to everything we're doing. RHAPisawebsite.com/subscribe, or click that subscribe button if you're watching us here on YouTube. And then, of course, I love to read your comments and hear what you thought about this conversation with Liz. Thanks again for checking it out. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye.